All right, good evening. Today is Tuesday, February the 10th, 2026, and it is 6:11, and I will now call the board meeting to order. Thank you all for your patience while we are getting started a little bit late. Of note, I just wanted to recognize that all board members are present with the exception of Director Richardson, who is not with us this evening. And at this moment, I would like to ask Director Fuller to read the land acknowledgement.
We are gathered today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederate Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederate Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationship between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day, and we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor our past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff at Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous people.
Thank you. Now let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Super Castaneda, are there any modifications to our agenda this evening?
No, there are none.
All right, thank you. So at this time, I will turn this portion of the agenda over to the superintendent for our spotlights.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. As always, spotlights are amongst our favorite, and this will be no exception. So a little bit of emceeing before we'll do spotlights, and then afterwards we meet up here for photos. So to begin with, I would like to introduce David Hughes, and he's going to offer our community spotlight.
Good evening. Directors, Superintendent Castaneda.
David, I just one moment.
How about now? There we go. All right, so good evening, Board Directors, Superintendent Castaneda, and student advisors. In the heart of the Willamette Valley, we frequently talk about the strength of our community and its support for our families. We saw that care in action this past November when thousands of households suddenly lost access to federal food benefits. While those benefits were unavailable, Marion Polk Food Share moved swiftly to help mitigate the impact on families. Together, they provided funding, coordinated complex logistics, and mobilized their network to pack shelf-stable food boxes for thousands of families in need. When those boxes were ready for distribution, volunteers from the county, the Food Share, and Salem-Keizer Public Schools worked together side by side on November 7th to hand out the food boxes to more than 1,600 families. However, a mission of this scale requires more than just food. It requires a base of operations, and we want to extend a special thank you to the Oregon State Fairgrounds. On extremely short notice, they opened their doors and provided the essential space we needed to do this work. It is often said that it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to protect one. Because these partners stepped up, our families received support during a time of immense stress. In total, including our November 7th event, nearly 4,500 families received a food box in Marion County. So we want to reiterate how grateful we are for this partnership. This support was most deeply felt as we headed into the holiday season. And want to say thank you again to Marion County, Marion Polk Food Share, and the Oregon State Fairgrounds for the rapid response in this time of crisis.
Thank you. David, as you make your way back to your seat, just a little stage direction there that happened out loud. I just want to add that it's been really wonderful over the past short while to get to know the Marion Polk team, and Rick in particular. And so I just want to tell you the story of one moment of inception on this, where out of nowhere, I got a text from him, and he said, I have an idea. And I texted back and I said, I love ideas. And he said, do you think we could make this work? And my fingers could not move fast enough. It was such a relief in that moment, a moment where there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety and fear in our community. To have someone like Marion Polk Food Share reaching out and saying, we have an idea to help. And it was also Marion County, so there are lots of ways to spread all of this praise. But it is part of what makes Salem-Keizer special, that everyone is just one text away. So thank you for that. Okay, and I will next move on to Tara Yates, the principal at EDGE, and welcome her to introduce our staff spotlight. Yes, please.
Bring my spotlight with me?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Katie, and this is Katie Gilmore. All right. Good evening, board directors, Superintendent Castaneda, and student advisors. Tonight, it's my honor to spotlight an exceptional educator and artist from EDGE, Katie Gilmore, whose dedication is to storytelling and the arts is making a profound impact on our students and the broader Salem community. Katie has recently been collaborating with the Salem Art Association to develop a comprehensive curriculum for the Re-Envision project. Now, the project features 10 remarkable portraits and narratives by Jeremy Okai Davis of Oregon's Black ancestors, and through Katie's work, these stories are becoming accessible to teachers and students across our district. Her curriculum serves as a bridge, bringing local history and fine art directly into our classrooms. The impact of Katie's work at EDGE and in our community is deeply felt. The Re-Envision project focuses on sharing the faces and stories that many have otherwise been forgotten to history. By developing these lessons, Katie allows our students to reflect on their own lives and the value of those close to them. Her work honors all experiences, teaching our young people to see magnitude of their own place in the work through a beautiful exploration of identity and healing. Katie is also a champion for inclusion, belonging at our school at EDGE. While EDGE offers specific elective paths, Katie ensures that every student in her art and creative writing classes feels empowered. She works tirelessly to help each student develop a strong, unique voice, showing them how creative expression can be enriching and transformative part of their lives. Beyond the classroom, Katie is a dedicated practicing artist who leads by example. For the past 3 years, she has organized and created Art Teachers After Hours, an annual exhibit at the Salem Art Association that runs alongside the Student Young Art Showcases. And this allows our students in our district to see their teachers' professional work displayed in a gallery setting right next to their own art. Furthermore, Katie is a published author. I have recently have this book right here from her. And she's and it's going to be a signed copy here pretty quick. And it is a book on poetry, and it's called This Changes Everything, and This Changes Nothing. So on behalf of EDGE, it is my privilege to recognize Katie Gilmore for extraordinary creativity, her commitment to inclusive storytelling, and her dedication to our students. So please join me in thanking Katie Gilmore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then finally, I would like to introduce Nicole Spearman Eskelsen, who is going to offer our student spotlight.
Apparently still getting ready for this debut.
Well, you can just intro very slowly.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent, and student advisors. During this month of Career and Technical Education Awareness Month, it is with great pride that I highlight a student named Moses Garcia, who is a student at McKay High School's culinary program. He's a valued member, particularly right now in our Restaurant Management 2 program. And tonight, we're excited to celebrate all the accomplishments he's had in the last 4 years. Moses is a participant. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody said something. My apologies. Moses, in the last 4 years, has consistently demonstrated the adaptability, strong problem-solving skills, and perseverance. Throughout his time in the program, his commitment to learning and personal growth has been abundantly clear. In our capstone class that we have, students apply for leadership roles within our catering branch, including positions such as catering manager, staffing manager, sanitarian, and product procurement. Moses stepped into the role of bakery manager with professionalism and determination. In this leadership role, he showed a strong commitment to his team and took ownership of his responsibilities, contributing to the overall success of the catering program. As the bakery manager, Moses oversees the production and completion of all the baked goods for the catering events. He quickly became an invaluable member of the team, exceeding expectations through his reliability and exceptional attention to detail. His positive attitude and strong work ethic has made him a meaningful impact to not only our catering operations, but McKay High School. We are incredibly proud of Moses and the growth he has shown throughout the program. While he will be greatly missed next year, we know he will be prepared to continue success in whatever path he may choose. Please join us in congratulating Moses for his outstanding contributions and achievements. According to Mom, they were still getting ready, so.
Okay. We will start with Marion Polk Chair and join you at the backdrop. Yes.
It's your turn. All right, well, thank you. Indeed, these spotlights are the most favorite part of the meeting, so I appreciate that. All right, so we'll move forward on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I am going to kick off superintendent's report by talking a little bit about Black History Month. And in order to do that today, I want to share a story of Carson Woodson. So Mr. Woodson was born in 1875 to parents who were former slaves. His early education was mostly pieced together, and he was self-taught. He went to high school when he was 20. He got his high school diploma within 2 years, and he earned his bachelor's degree. Then he traveled the world, and then he became the second Black American to earn a PhD. He earned it from Harvard. And the reason that I am sharing the story of Mr. Woodson is that in February 1926, Mr. Woodson decided that it was high time to create Black History Week. And so what that means is that we are now celebrating the 100th anniversary of Black History Month through the foresight, the unbelievable talents, and the clear determination that Mr. Woodson brought to bear in 1926, and I am so proud and grateful that they live on today. In reading about him, I also learned that he scheduled Black History Month, in that point, Black History Week, to correspond to Frederick Douglass's birthday and Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And so that is part of the reason that we celebrate it in February today. And so I just, share that this is one of many opportunities to recognize the incredible contributions, but also the amazing history of Black Americans in this country. And to say that in Salem-Keizer, we have so many celebrations. They are celebrations as small as Amazing Doors, and they are celebrations that are more significant. We have events that are going on throughout the year. Just 2 weeks ago, there was an event hosted jointly by ULEAD and Be Black, where we had middle school students come together. And I also want to take this opportunity to share widely. February 20th at 6 p.m. is an event that's going to be at McKay High School. It's called Echoes of Excellence. Board members, you have a flyer at your table. Anyone else can find them in Erin's hands and also on our website. This is a special event because it's jointly hosted by the Black student unions throughout Salem-Keizer, and I think it will be a wonderful, wonderful event. I also want to highlight Oregon Black Pioneers because they have done some work to memorialize the local stories of Black Oregonians, and they will be presenting it this month and hosting a free presentation at Salem Library. That's on February 26th. So hit Echoes of Excellence on the 20th, and a mere 1 week later, you can attend this. And then finally, I want to thank the local organizations that are so joyful, persistent, committed, and fierce about the role of Black history and the future of Black Salem residents in all of what we are. So first, I want to acknowledge the Salem-Keizer NAACP. I think as much as any organization, they work hard to keep Black history alive and honest, even in a moment where there are forces that work hard to obscure or simplify the story of America. So thank you, Salem-Keizer NAACP. I also want to acknowledge the Be Black Foundation and ULEAD, both of which work hard to create incredible and enriching programming for the students of Salem-Keizer. And they do it with a combination of joy, of pride, and with a total commitment to ensuring that our students have a great and well-developed sense of identity in themselves and in others, and understand how to see and be in this spectacularly pluralist community and country. So thank you to all of those who do that, and all of those who may be in the audience at this very moment doing that. You are a very important part of who we are. I also want to acknowledge that last week was School Counselors Week. I live right next to South, and as I was walking my dog late one night, I looked in the front door, which is always lit up. The foyer is lit up, and there's this giant banner across the stairwell that says, "Thank you, counselors." You could see the deep respect and also total affection that the South students have for counselors. And also today I was at Washington Elementary School, and I was able to join a second grade class when they were getting a lesson from their school counselor in kindness. So counselors, they just serve so many functions in our schools. They're often our kids' first thought about who to go to for help, and they are there for everyday needs, but they are also our crisis support team. So when there's something acute, it is our counselors, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, who we call when we need skill, when we need care, and when we need support for our students and community. And with that, I will hand it back to you.
Okay, great. Well, it might be an opportunity. I do believe our spotlight, Moises, is now here. So
Oh,
perhaps
wonderful.
we could
Perfect.
go back. and
Micro
do-
adjournment.
Yeah, so we'll do that.
You deserve the applause. Thanks for all you do.
All right. Well, next on our agenda is the Q2 financial report and budget update. So I'll turn it back over to you, Superintendent, for our budget update.
Thank you. We have a couple of slides that we'll go through. Today, our Chief Financial Officer, Heidi San, is going to take us through our Q2 financial summary. And because last week we announced $23 million in proposed budget reductions, and we launched a survey to collect feedback on those reductions, we wanted to use this board meeting as an opportunity to just share some of the high-level themes from the about 1,200 responses that we had at the time that we pulled the data, which was over the weekend. But I'll use this as a quick plug. It will remain open until February 13th. Please take the survey, please share the survey. Probably no need to do it more than once, but get it out to everyone. We want to make sure we get as much feedback as possible. Okay, so as of 1 week into the 2-week window, on the left, what you'll see here is just a summary of who had responded if they chose to complete the field. About a quarter was staff. About a third was staff, about a quarter identified as parents and caregivers, and then the rest were a bunch of some slightly thinner slices. One of our second survey questions was, do you agree with our proposal to decrease the blends in elementary schools? And so just as a quick reminder, because of budget pressures, we have about 170 blended grades in elementary school, meaning a kindergarten and a first grade is blended together, or a second and a third grade is blended together. Even though we're in a reduction scenario, our proposal actually includes an investment to start to pull those blends out. And our proposal was to remove about half of the blends by eliminating nearly all kindergarten and first grade blended classrooms, which means that they would now just be a kindergarten and just be a first grade. The classrooms are not eliminated, it's just the blended portion. And you can see here that about 2/3 of people agree with that. The vast majority of staff and parents who I speak with believe that the blends are difficult and overall a hardship for both students and staff. Okay, second question is, do you agree with our proposal to reduce school-based staff based on declining enrollment? This is only one portion of our reduction proposal. Our overall proposal included $9 million in district-based reductions and then $14 million in school-based staffing reductions. And you can see, I think, the ambivalence that virtually everyone feels here. About half of respondents said no. And there were moments when I probably would say no, not because I don't think that declining enrollment is the way to figure it out, but because we all wish there was any option to avoid the loss of school-based staff. And then you've got about a half that are somewhere in between not sure and yes, with about a quarter of people in the jumping off point of, I don't like it, but it makes sense. That one in particular feels emotionally resonant to me, and I think everybody on our team, none of us like it, but we do understand the relationship between school enrollment and school staffing. That is kind of a high-level view of what people responded to in the portion of the survey that was not open-ended. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is the portion, there was about 1,000 open-ended responses, and I will say, very close to all of them. And there are a handful of major themes amongst that 1,000. And what I wanted to do is, one, make sure you all saw the themes, but I also want to address a few of them in a little bit more detail. So I'm not going to go in order on this. I will. There's another point at which I will speak about cutting central administration. I want to talk a little bit about two of them right now, which is reducing curriculum and assessment spending and 4-day school weeks. There are relatively few areas where I bring a strong and unyielding position as a superintendent. One of them is 4-day school weeks. I do not believe that that is in the interest of our students. And there, we could talk about the research into that. We could talk about any number of factors, but I do not wish to equivocate on that point. On reduction of curriculum and assessment spending, our district is about about halfway through, not quite halfway through, a multi-year corrective action plan with the state because of our failure to invest in curriculum, core content curriculum in every core classroom, K-12. We started this process in earnest 2 years ago, and we have, I think, 2 or 3 years left after next year. And we should not be a school district of over 37,000 students without high-quality core content curriculum. It is not a substitute for any amount of skill or experience or care in our teaching staff, but to leave our teaching staff without core curriculum is to leave our system without the tools that it needs to be successful. And so next year we have our most important implementation, which is our elementary reading implementation. And that will be an over $11 million investment. And we must, in my opinion, make that investment. It is ultimately the decision of the board, but without a reading curriculum that is evidence-based and has been chosen by our instructors and is based on the science of reading, we will not see the gains that our students deserve and that our community expects. So having addressed those two, I'm just going to quickly say there was an overwhelming theme related to protecting behavioral supports, arts, athletics, extracurriculars. And we anticipated that because we have unfortunately gone through this process before. We know how important those are. And our proposal does continue our financial investment in all of those areas. And then selling buildings. It was actually selling buildings, and then there was a smaller strand associated with questions about a decision to buy a building, which we did about 6 months ago. And here, we'll actually just radically agree with many of the forms of feedback. Even tonight, you'll see our Chief Operating Officer, Paul Odenthal, bring forth 3 buildings for recommendation for disposition so that we can sell them. those 3 buildings, we knew actually were not ones that we wanted to retain. And as a school district of our size, we're actually constantly managing a real estate portfolio. We don't want to be landlords. We want to be owners of buildings that are appropriate for our current systems needs. And so, yes, we agree with selling buildings. I am going to go to the next slide, please, to talk about central administration. This was, I would say this was the most common open-ended topic of all of the ones that were themed. And if I could kind of offer an example of what these sounded like, they sounded like comments like, it's important to protect schools and classrooms. The district should be the one that is cut first. And there was, probably 100 variations on that. We agree that the district should be cut first, and that actually was our process. We spent almost 2 months as a district team scouring our budgets and cutting everything that we felt that we could. And this is true for many districts in Oregon and many central administration teams in Oregon. Every time you're faced with a situation like this, you just cut deeper because you want to protect schools. But in reading the comments and talking to members of our community, we do want to share something that is maybe important context, which is that our central administration, which is sometimes called district administration, sometimes called back office, it's got all of these different names. We are about 5% of the district workforce. And this is, what this means is that 95% of our people are serving schools or students directly pretty much every day of their work week. And the way that this happens plays out in every unit in our organization. And so, for example, in some sectors, people might call custodial services back office, but we do not, because our custodians are part of our school teams. Our children know our custodians' names. They are part of a school community. And so at 5%, we run lean. We have compared ourselves to other districts in Oregon that are approximate peers, which are really only Portland and Beaverton. Beaverton and Salem-Keizer run at approximately the same level, and within the central administration, we do our best to do everything just the way that schools do. And so this is, you can see 1.2% of our workforce are district administrators, meaning supervisors. There are 64 district supervisors for a 5,600 person workforce. 64 covers every dimension of our district services, which is expansive because we feed, we house, we transport, we educate. We also do all the payroll. I mean, we do all of the things that every industry does, plus many more. And so at 1% of the workforce, we hope just to offer more information about the proportionality. Can we go to the next slide, please? In this last slide, I want to address the questions about furlough. This was not a common theme, but it was common enough that I think it needs to be addressed directly. And if I were to offer an example of what open-ended feedback on furlough looked like, it would say something like, furlough is a preferable option to losing any member of our team. And there are just 2 things that I want to share about that. And they are distinct, but they are complementary in my mind. The first is that we do have, as has been widely reported, it is true, Oregon has one of the shortest instructional years in the country. And to continue whittling down those instructional days does have a cost. It has a cost to our community, it has a cost to our students. The other thing that I wish to share about that, though, is that the argument that I have heard most energetically offered is that furlough is the right solution because this is a short-term financial challenge for the district. And this is where I must respectfully disagree. If I thought that this was a short-term financial challenge, and if I thought that Oregon's economy was such that in the next biennium, there was going to be a windfall of money for K-12 education that would allow Salem-Keizer to just bridge over to that point, then we would be having a very different conversation. I reluctantly, but rather confidently conclude that that is not the trajectory that Oregon is on. And in part, I just want to pull us back to this view of declining enrollment. We are at about the midpoint of a long period of declining enrollment. We do project it to plateau. But this is one of the primary reasons, in addition to the economic condition of the state, which ebbs and flows. This is not a story of ebb and flow. This is a story of another 10 years of enrollment decline, which we may be able to slow, but we cannot reverse. It is based largely on declining birth rate, and that is not something that our district can control. And so when I am able to talk with people about furlough days, what I share is not that furlough is an inadequate or poorly conceptualized financial solution. It's that it's a mismatch to the moment that we are in economically. We have to prepare for this because this will come for us financially if we do not. And so we reluctantly, but I think also understandably, see this as a moment to address a structural deficit and a trend that we are only at the halfway point of. And it gives us an opportunity to begin the process of a gradual adjustment that helps us survive some of the predictable changes that are coming to our school community. And with that, I think I will pause and hand it to our Chief Financial Officer, Heidi Son, who is going to take you through our Q2 update, and then we'll turn it back to the board for questions.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Harnish, Board of Directors, student supervisors, and Superintendent. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide, thank you. So I'm happy to be here to share our Q2 forecast. The Q2 forecast is based on our results through the end of December, which marks the midway point through our fiscal year, the current fiscal year that we're in. At this point in the fiscal year, we have about half of our year of actual results to base our forecast on, and as a result, we did see some minor changes in our year-end projections. And I'm going to highlight a few of those for you right here. So if you can see on the graph, the blue line, which depicts our revenue. In our Q1 update, we shared a revenue projection of $594 million for the general fund. And for this projection, we are reducing that by about $2 million to $592 million. The expense forecast continues to reflect that we expect to spend less than we budgeted for the current year. For the Q2, that's approximately $20.5 million less than we have budgeted to spend. And it depicts that we're projecting about $1 million reduction from our last quarter projection. So from 619 to 618 million. And of course, the black line up at the top shows our fund balance, shows our ending fund balance. And so this is a net decrease in our projected revenues and expenses of about $1 million. And that drops our projection from for ending fund balance for the year from 71 million down to 70 million. It's a slightly larger reduction in fund balance than we were anticipating in our Q1, but we still expect to remain within the 7 to 12% range of projected ending fund balance as a percent of our total operating revenue, which is right there in the middle at 10.21%. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Superintendent and Director Son. Really appreciate it. Are there any questions? We maybe have time for 1 or 2 questions. Any questions on what was presented? All right. Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, we'll move forward then with our results policy on 9th grade on track. And so that will be presented by Deputy Superintendent Neves and Larry Ramirez, secondary level director, about our results policy monitoring report for 9th grade on track. Welcome.
Good evening, board directors, student advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. Tonight, we're going to start our presentation with 9th grade on track to look at our progress towards the goals that the board has set for our high schools. I'm joined by Larry Ramirez, our director of high schools. And as we look at some of this data, we want to also share with you the stories of success that are coming from our schools, what they're working on, what they're finding is working, and how our students are demonstrating their progress. When we look at 9th grade on track, we're going to be looking at the percentage of 9th grade students who completed at least 6 credits by the end of the 24-25 school year. So again, these are students who would currently be in 10th grade. This is from last school year, but we're reporting on how they completed the year and if they received 6 credits. Next slide. So last year, 84.6% of our 9th grade students earned at least 6 credits during their first year of high school. This is an improvement of 4.2 percentage points over the 23-24 school year. With this particular goal, we exceeded the annual target that was set by the board by 2.5 percentage points, and this continues our overall upward trajectory. So we're really excited about that. Next slide. This slide was particularly not only exciting, but also reinforcing for our schools to see, because nearly every demographic group improved compared to the 23-24 school year. So not only do we see overall, we are increasing the percentage of students who are on track by the end of 9th grade. We're also making great progress with all of our student groups. The 3 student groups that did not have a year-over-year increase still continue to exceed the target of 82% set by the board. And it's really important that we look at our data by our demographic groups, because we need to make sure that within that overall group, we're paying attention to which groups are continuing to make progress and where we need to focus additionally. Mr. Ramirez.
Good evening, thank you. You can see here our 9th grade on track by school. As you can see, all the arrows are pointing up, which is a great indicator, minus our early college, because they were at 100% and they continue at 100%. So that was a great not plus arrow, because they were already perfect on track. Again, as Danielle stated, the goal of 82%, we're at 84.6, feeling great about our progress there, knowing that our number one indicator, leading indicator for graduation rate is 9th grade on track. So the more we set this foundation of a strong start in 9th grade, those students will matriculate through our system and in with a diploma. Obviously, there are students that'll come in and out of the cohort, but starting with a strong foundation in 9th grade, we know is the number one key to students graduating. Next slide. Talking about our next steps with 9th grade on track, we have strong teams in our high schools that review 9th grade data, that check on student progress. They can check on individual grades. They have access to the data that allows them to review up to the minute grades as long as the grade books are updated. They can pull and see how students are doing, intervene, ask questions, give support. And that is a great way for our teams to function. You'll see on the top right slide on the CSI, TSI, are student groups that are identified that need additional support. And we have a team of people and a point person on that helps ensure that those students get the support that they need to be passing their classes and getting them on track. We have academic after-school support, and we also have Saturday school support. We have teachers and staff that come in to help students. We also feed them. That's always a great incentive for high school kids. And so they come in, get their work work done and get support from their teachers. Definitely another piece that we've been able to do is prioritize scheduling. So our core classes, math, language arts, science, social studies, able to prioritize those in terms of class size, trying to make those a little bit smaller than our other class sizes in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Another key piece to ensuring a strong start to 9th grade is our transition meetings with our 8th grade partners, getting information about students and where we need to support in any way that we can. So having the strong partnership with the middle schools really ensures we have the information we need and an idea of the supports that we'll need to provide to ensure successful transition to 9th grade. The last piece I'd like to talk about on this slide would be the credit recovery. Students obviously at times do not pass all their classes even when we want them to. So as we just started second semester in this school year, students that didn't pass their classes in first semester have the opportunity to recover that credit here in this second semester, working on the standards that they didn't pass in the first semester, so they don't have to retake that whole course from the beginning of the year and wait till next year to take Algebra 1 again. They can work on those standards that they've missed in semester 1 and semester 2 and get that credit recouped. Another part, obviously, for us is summer school, and we offer a robust time or a robust program and about a month's worth of time for students to work on credit recovery. Next slide. Set it on that. Okay.
So we'll turn it back to the board if you have any questions about 9th grade on track before we return to talk about graduation.
It's a busy night for you. Thank you so much for the report. And looks like we do have a couple of questions. I'm going to start down here. I saw Director Chandragiri.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you for this presentation so far. We have different demographic groups, and literally everybody seems to be there is a improvement in all groups. What I'm not entirely clear is it because they are different ethnic groups or that we are tracking, or is there any underlying connection to poverty and poverty dense, because that cuts through so many different groups? Because is there any intentional way of offering programs, say, between middle school and high school for children coming from a potentially, say, poverty-dense location, which may be an underlying variable? Because every year we have been reporting based on ethnic groups, etc. And I see similar trend. But is there something more to it, or is it just the ethnic group that determines where they stand?
So there are lots of different ways we can disaggregate data. Consistently across our monitoring reports, we've been using the same set of student groups to report on their progress. We do have at some of our schools that receive Title I funds to support students who have additional needs and may live in poverty. Those schools may have additional interventions. I think Mr. Ramirez mentioned, like, one of our schools at high school has almost twice as long of a summer school, right? Because they're able to hire more staff and have more days in that summer school program. In general, we believe that most of these improvements for all of these different groups are showing up because of really tight systems that the schools are putting in place to understand how each student is doing and then to match interventions. And those interventions might show up because of we may notice a pattern with a particular group. And so we might have particular service providers push in to provide some interventions there. Or it might be challenges with a specific course like Algebra 1. And then we're going to be leveraging our educators' expertise to help to close those gaps.
Yeah. Do you offer anything between middle school and high school? That's what I was asking. We are talking about credit recovery, but is there anything in some groups, is there any such program, or is it possible?
Are you asking about earning credits in middle school for high school, or between, like, over the summer?
Yeah, over the summer between middle school and high school for potential subgroups within all these categories who may be at risk for not helping us reach 100% in those different groups, you see.
Yes,
Is it based on the racial groups or ethnic groups, or is it the poverty or something else that determines? Because you see poverty in all racial groups, and children who are experiencing homeless come from all racial groups. So what exactly is leading to some groups being left behind and some groups being high?
So your first question was about summer programs, so I'm going to start there.
Okay.
We have a range of summer programs that are offered during the summer. Some are really academically based in terms of helping students to address unfinished learning. There's also opportunities for students to take programs during the summer to jumpstart them towards, especially in mathematics, accelerated mathematics opportunities. And then we do have several different culturally focused summer programs, like our Native Ed program. We have our migrant education program, provides us program for students who are in a migrant education program. So there's a variety of different programs that happen over the summer between middle school, each year of middle school, and then going into high school, and then we continue those in high school as well. The second question, as I understood it, is about understanding for some of these subgroups, is there another layer of disaggregation around effects of poverty? We don't have that data today. I think it's something that we can continue to understand. What I would say is that when we look at our school-by-school data, you'll also see that our 2 Title I schools are also trending upward in terms of their 9th grade on track, because we're supporting all of our students.
I think Andrea has a comment to that.
Yeah, Dr. Chandragiri, I've heard you bring up versions of this question in previous monitoring reports, and I just want to be clear with everyone who's watching that while we present data in this form, which is disaggregated, we don't deliver interventions based on this form. We deliver interventions based on student needs. And this is just one way, as Danielle said, of many to understand performance, but this is not the playbook for understanding who is under credit or how we're responding to their academic or other needs.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll do Director Hudson, and then we'll go to Student Advisor Jackson.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. So I'm excited that you started off with that, because what I was wondering, a couple things, how we could help. I was going to ask advocate part of it as board members to help the other kids that are in those in-between gaps that are not in the same set school groups that we do our data points on. So I think you kind of just answered that. But to get them in those programs, what I don't know is we do have desegregated interventions for them, but what are they? Are they these summer school ones as well? And if not, which is what I understand, that there may not be that opportunity for all the kids that are not in any of those specific groups for summer help between 8 and 9. How we can help, give them access to that. So one, is that for everyone? Could you clarify those summer school programs? Is that for any student?
So we have a lot of summer school programs, so
Okay.
I don't want to speak specifically about all of them, but I will say that all of our programs are open to students who want to attend a summer
Perfect.
program. The only exception I would say is that we have a few that are funded by Title I funds, and so only students who attend those Title I schools would be able to go to one of those programs. But there are a lot of other programs that are run all across our city and across the summer for students.
Does that mean that all of our middle schools have access, like every student that is an 8th grader has access in our district to go to some summer school program if they needed to or wanted to?
I would say that there are definitely programs available for all students. I don't want to definitely claim that we have enough seats for every single student, which is also a question about funding and staffing for summer programs.
Thank you. So my initial listening to that was the progress of, and I think I've asked this before, and I was just curious, and if you don't have an answer now, that's fine, but I would really like to have one. So it used to be, as I understood, so in middle and high, it was the counselor's duty. I know you went through a list in your presentation, Larry, of the specific staff titles that have a hand in ensuring that each child is on track. But I see that play out in the schools, and so that's why I'm asking this question, because I used to see it play out differently when a counselor took it upon themselves to sit and bring in any of the kiddos to make sure they're on track. Hey, guess what? I do have a summer school option available for you, but I don't hear any of that now, and I do see a need. So do you have any data on that? Like, do you know if that's part of most of our middle schools playbook, even high school too? Or maybe some, or is that something that we need to discuss later?
High schools do have summer programming for anyone that would need some credit recovery, so it wouldn't matter a student group on that. It matters if you can attend that. Obviously, we have, as Danielle spoke to, a little bit of capacity, but we usually do have room in summer school for any type of credit recovery that you may need. I mean, we may not be offering a mechanics credit recovery, but we're going to have all of our core classes covered for credit recovery, but there won't be, an Art 3 maybe if you failed that. But if it's a core class in our high school, we will have a credit recovery option for you in the summer.
So for high school though, does the counselor kind of bring in the kiddos that are not on track and say, hey buddy, guess what? I see from my stats right here that you're not. So I'm going to send you to one of our people or help you figure out how to line up your courses to get on track. And here's everything that we have to offer to reach that goal.
That can be definitely some work that a counselor does, but it's also part of a grade level team where I know this group of students may need math credit recovery, this group of students may need social studies credit recovery. So that would be a pathway, would be a counselor, but it's also more likely of a grade level team saying, okay, let's look at all of our ninth graders that didn't pass the credits in core classes that we need at the end of this school year, and let's make sure we invite them all and tell them what our dates are and make sure that we get them here so we can provide them the credit recovery that they need.
So is that part of middle school though too? Or do the counselors maybe at the middle school, because they don't have the same staff that specialize in keeping the kids on track to graduate on time as a high school does? Sorry. What do we know of the middle schools while they're going out to the high schools?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So at middle school, we don't have credits the same way as high school, but in terms of thinking about students' success in their courses, there are teams that are going to be made up of multiple staff. Counselors are part of those teams, but you also have classroom teachers, you have behavior specialists, you have administrators who are all meeting and looking at the data for students and saying, which of our students need something additional? It might be Saturday school. Several of our middle schools actually are increasing their Saturday school offerings so that they can have more students participate. Similarly, with summer programs, they're talking to students and they're talking to families about the different programs that are offered during the summer and which kinds of programs might be a good fit. Both the ones that we offer in Salem-Keizer and then also the ones that our community partners offer in conjunction with us for our students.
Okay, so it sounds like if a family had a question about that and maybe their kiddo is getting lost in between the whatevers, then they should maybe ask the principal or vice principal of that middle school what they have to offer.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you for the questions. And we'll, Jackson, and then we'll move to Director Guzman-Ortiz.
Thanks. I wondered about this last time when I think we were looking at least similar demographic breakdowns for attendance. Yeah. And I've been thinking I think it would be helpful to, and I'm wondering how possible it would be to add some demographic groups to this, specifically like transgender under the gender section and LGBT under student groups. Again, I'm not sure how this data is collected. I don't know if that's possible, but I think it would be helpful.
So we always can look into different ways to disaggregate the data. I do know for our transgender students, we would not be able to report it out at this level because of the number of students. It would become identifying at that point. And I'm not sure that we collect data on LGBTQ+ that would allow us to disaggregate the same way, but I do know that Director McElroy has got his microphone, so he's going to tell you some more about the data.
Good evening. I'm 2 for 2 on these for weeks. So the data that we look at are the ones that we officially track and report through ODE. So these data come back through them. So in the case of, for example, gender, I believe the only ones that we do get report backs for are female, male, and non-binary. We're able to internally track a few more different data sets for some of our internal data, but to track this back to what ODE reports, we're just using their official metrics and their official definitions.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And Director Guzman-Ortiz.
Thanks, Jackson. So actually, my question was a little aligned, or I have maybe 3, and I'll try to be quick. But where do we collect these demographic pieces from? Are those like reported by parents at registration, or are they self? Because when we look at non-binary, I think about one that's probably like an undercount, right? So, but that's an assumption, and I don't know where these numbers come from. So that's my question.
I think I have a partial answer here. I do know that on enrollment and registration that families do submit this information for their students. I do believe there are also opportunities for students to update their own status internally in our system. And for many of these, they can get reported back to ODE, but they do have some differences. So for example, under the race ethnicity category, these are what are called resolved races. We have greater information and granularity for students that might report, for example, Hispanic, Latino, and Asian. That gets folded into the multiracial and not necessarily separated as independent reported races in that case.
Thank you so much. That's helpful. Very technical question. You said 9th grade on track is based on students having 6 credits at the end of freshman year. Yes. What is the max that they can get? Like if they took a full load past everything, what?
If they took a standard full loaded, they would earn up to 8 credits in a regular 4 per semester.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to get a sense of what the wiggle room here that we're looking at and students are. And then the last question I had was, I heard you, Larry, say that schools can look at progress once those grades are done and collected. When does the district have, like at a district level, have insight into the status of the entire school? So I'm thinking about there's the school level insight, but then there's the district level insight, right? So just how we think about schools and building administrators being able to support their teams to, get on the ground. I guess I also think about, well, what's the district's response to buildings to make sure that they're also installing, all of their tools to support students. So just kind of like up the hierarchy.
Yes, so that would be something that I review on our site visits. We look at the data, how students are doing in their classes. I can view it from my office, every high school, and then obviously high schools can view their own, and it's by student, by teacher, how students are doing in their classes. So there's a way for me to be able to do that from my office, but also that's part of our conversation when I meet with principals about how students are doing and where we're needing support.
Thank you for the questions, everybody. And I'm actually going to, we are running out of time. So what I'd like to do is move us on to our final report, our results policy monitoring report about graduation rates. So I'll turn the floor back over to both of you for that.
Great. So we're going to look at 4-year cohort graduation rate for the class of 2025. This report measures the percent of students from the original 9th grade class who completed all of their graduation requirements within 4 years. So we're looking at 2021 to 2025. Next slide. So as you can see on this slide, our current progress is the blue line. We did not meet the annual target set by the board for this goal area. Our graduation rate improved by 0.3 percentage points over the prior year, which has meant that over the last 4 years, we've been just under 80%. We are currently 3.1 percentage points below the board target of 82.8%, which means, just as we're thinking about this in terms of number of students, if we were talking about a cohort of the same size for 2026, we need to graduate approximately 170 more students within that 4 years to reach that goal this year. So that's the level we're trying to think about it, is like, who are those additional students? What does that look like? And what is it going to take for us to catch up with that red line, which is the target that you set for us? Next slide. Looking here, we can see the progress of our demographic groups, which we discussed in the last report, compared to the 2024 cohort. Please remember, when we're looking at these numbers, we're discussing a different group of students. So we're not looking at a change in the same group of students, but we are looking at the patterns over 2 years. And understanding that progress, again, helps us to understand where additional interventions and supports may be needed, and also where some of our targeted efforts are being successful. I'll turn it over to Larry.
So some key data highlights here. The state average was 83%, so we had every comprehensive -1 that was close, being at or above the state average. So happy with overall where we're at here. Obviously, we have still work to do to meet our target. And what I want to share there is I like the way we're heading, because as I spoke earlier on 9th grade on track, that's the number that drives graduation, and those numbers are up. So as those classes come through, we anticipate, obviously, that our graduation rates will climb with that. And again, obviously, there are students that come in and out of, will come in and out of high school into cohorts, but with the group that we have and the current on track, we are very positive about our graduation in the future. One thing I definitely want to highlight here is McKay's work. They increased 5.4%, really jumped up from 77.6 to 83.1, as you can see in the slide. And speaking with them, I wanted just to give you a couple of highlights about the work that they wanted to share. Felt really good about their dropout prevention and connecting with kids. They have currently installed a 2-week dashboard where they can tell any kids that have been gone over the 2-week span and intervene right away, so that it's not a lag of time before we're making contact with students and families. And it's not just the auto dialer, it's us as humans connecting with students and families that makes the difference, right? An auto dialer doesn't get a kid back to school. A personal connection from a staff member gets a kid back in school. And they've really tightened up that time frame and really has kept kids engaged at school and coming back. Another part to highlight with them definitely would be their graduation coaches and their grade level teams, and how they, again, are connecting with kids, have that partnership, and also an accountability person that they are making progress at school, and that is really driven up the work that they're doing there at McKay. I'll go next slide. As we look at the strategy, progress, and next steps, one of the key pieces I want to share is we've had success hiring retired teachers and coming back to support, a math teacher that's retired that's coming back and helping, a language arts teacher that's coming back and helping, and really helping the students, obviously, that we assign them to, that need the support and intervention so they can get their skills up and a passing grade in their classes. Our graduation coaches supporting our students and making sure they're developing plans that can be followed, found that following up on their grades, following up on their attendance, and just being that trusted adult for kids. Looking at the senior blitz is what we call it, but knowing who's on that list that needs extra support in terms of in jeopardy of graduation, making sure they're in the right courses, making sure they have the support from our staff that they need, and somebody to check in with and help them and encourage them to continue to come to school and that they can make it. And some of this will be done. I think it's important to say, we try to get everybody done by the graduation date in June, but we do have a good, as some of you have seen, a robust amount of kids that graduate for senior graduation in the summer. And that also counts as part of this number for graduation, because that goes all the way up through the end of August. So just wanted to highlight that there are still kids that we will support all the way, and even if they want to return for a fifth year, we do that as well. Credit recovery, kind of spoke to a little bit already in ninth grade on track, but again, opportunities for students to credit recovery at second semester and over the summer school, and again, all the way through the end of August. Students have the opportunity to be graduates of that cohort, and if not, they could be a fifth year graduate, because we have a good chunk of students that will return to finish up their schooling even the year after. I think that's the end of our slides.
All right. Do we have time for a couple of questions? I'm going to start down here because my head always goes this way first. Director Parker.
I just had one question. Is kind of going back to the ninth grade on track, but following up with the grad rate too. How hard is it to, once a child, they had a really bad freshman year, they say they flunked 5 out of 6 classes. So they're able to take it, make it up, but then they have their additional other classes too. So that's extremely overwhelming. How is it, are they ever able to catch up without, I know you said there's summer school on Saturday, but if the kid was not able to do that, is it even possible to still graduate within 4 years with the taking so many credits every single term? Is that possible? And also, do they still, I remember in the past, students were able to like get work credits. Is that still something that is happening now? I'm just curious.
Okay, I'll start with the first question. And yes, one thing about our schedule is we do, as I spoke a little bit earlier, we offer 8 credits per year. So you would have the opportunity to earn 32 credits. You need 24 credits for graduation. So there is basically a year of flux in there. So if a student, did fail a few classes, there is that opportunity without ever having to do a credit recovery or a summer school to be able to recover those credits within your 32 slots of high school. Obviously, we want them to take advantage of credit recovery opportunities in summer school, so you're not doing 2 language arts at the same time or 2 math classes at the same time. So we really encourage them to do that. But even if they didn't, there would be that opportunity. On your second question, we do offer work study credits. Obviously, it has to be related to something that we can give credit to. We have a process and guidelines for that, but we do offer some work study credits.
That's great. Thank you.
And Director Chandragiri.
Yeah, this is like the same theme of why I asked the question about poverty is because, we use different formula for funding. There's a direct certification or using the census tract. And there's a big discrepancy between the 2 methodology. And at least based on what I have understood, that poverty density is like the underlying common denominator, irrespective of racial, ethnic groups. And when we are in a position of going through financial problems, as a board director, I had to also think of, it's one thing is to say this is the data, but how do we scale up the program specifically and be judicious and fiscally responsible in targeting those subgroups that may be the underlying factor? You could have a family from upper middle class, Black family, or somebody who could be experiencing poverty, another Black family. So their outcome, I would imagine, could be different. So, and the way the state has been funding us also has been, they've been using different things for academic outcome, like say graduation, they use direct certification, whereas rest of the funding, they consider census tract. So would it be helpful if we start presenting the data based on the socio-economic status, so that we will start having better understanding and the community will have better understanding when we advocate for perhaps revising our educational funding formula, because we have a very regressive methodology of funding. Year after year, we have been doing the same thing. I've been seeing, last 6 years, I've seen the same categories, but it doesn't tell the story. That's why I was asking these questions, not only here, but in the previous times. So how do we bring the community to advocate, saying, there has to be a different way to calculate that? That may be an underlying factor. Just skin color alone is not enough. You really have to see what else is going on. The child may not have access to devices in one home, in the other home, they may have everything available. So any thoughts on that?
I will address it very briefly. I know we're extremely tight on time. So again, I want to say we present this as a way of understanding broad patterns in performance. This is not how we intervene. There's no method in which we say a Black student is going to receive this kind of intervention and a Hispanic student is going to receive this kind of intervention. This is just one way to understand patterns. But I also just on the matter, I think what you're asking is, can you also see a line related to socioeconomic status in addition to these disaggregations? We will look into that. I anticipate the challenge will be that this data comes not directly from us, but through the Department of Education. And so we do face some limits around what they provide us, but let us discuss it and come back to you.
Thank you.
All right, Director Fuller.
Thank you. Can we go back to the slide that showed the graph, the on track and where we were? That one. So I understand the bottom line is our district. One thing I noticed when I looked at this is why does the goal change? Why does it go up so much over the next few years? That's our goal, right? That's what we're trying to get. Why does it change year to year?
So that's the target that the board set for us. And
The board set, we set,
this
that's
board,
embarrassing.
so I'm going to turn it back to you all.
I'm new here. You were there? Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna hide under here now.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you.
Well, I was going to say, if somebody could speak to the longitudinal growth performance targets process and the ODE, student success, like all of that. Somebody can phrase that better, but there's a why behind it.
There's a why. Okay. Yeah. I'll ask that later.
Happy to give a quick, maybe 20-second summary of it, which was a few years back based on, I think, the 21-22 data. The state led a series of goal-setting exercises called the LPGTs, or Longitudinal Performance Growth Targets, very nice, that looked at similar growth trajectories, and we set a 5-year growth goal based on historical data at the time. These were rigorous, but hopefully attainable and still definitely not where we want them to be, but that was the sort of best, based on current historical data we had at the time, projections for the goals we were able to make. And we wanted to provide continuity over a long term for where we were trying to head.
Thank you very much.
And we are all very thankful for Jonathan McElroy,
Yes.
so thank you very much. So thank you so much for your reports this evening. Really appreciate it. It's great information, and colleagues, I really do appreciate the conversation and the dialogue about these, not only so we ourselves better understand it, but also too that our community better understands it. So thank you. All right, well, at this time, I'm going to move us on to the public comment portion of our evening. As a reminder, all audience members are subject to immediate removal if you engage in abusive, threatening, vulgar, or hate speech, including speech articulated in signs and clothing, which violate the district's harassment and/or Every Student Belongs policy. Please refrain from using any names here, as this is a public setting. Also, note that we provide an opportunity for public comment by virtual call-in, in-person, or in writing. Electronic mechanisms are used for translation. Every participant has 3 minutes, and we have a countdown timer on the screen for monitoring the time. The timer counts down from 3 minutes, and then at 30 seconds, it turns from green to yellow, and then at 1 second, it turns red and plays a short bell. Please be mindful of your pace for our interpreters. And if the board receives a written comment ahead of the meeting, the written comment will be posted on the district website. Tonight, 3 people have signed up and have been selected to comment. And so I'd like to first call up Brian Zauber-Reed. Hello, welcome.
Testing. Oh, there we are. Okay, so good evening, Board of Directors, student representatives, and Superintendent. My name is Brian Zauber-Reed, and I am speaking as an individual. I want to address an issue of great significance to every educator, parent, and taxpayer in our community. The increasingly top-heavy structure of the alarming trend of 6-figure administrative base salaries, currently the total of just 23 directors that exceed over $2 million. To grasp the scope of this issue, let's consider some of the key figures. In 2024, the highest salary in the Salem-Keizer School District reached well over $285,000. In contrast, the district employs 5,600 individuals, with an average salary of $51,000 and a median salary of $47,000 and some change. This means that the average employee earns less than 1/4 of what the top administrative take home. What is even more troubling is that the administrative costs and staffing levels have surged upwards despite the district's leadership acknowledgement that there is occurring a decline in student enrollment. Currently, the district has employed 23 directors, which only aggravates the crisis. In December 2023, the district announced the need to reduce more than $30 million in spending from 24 to 25 school year. A significant portion of reduction was intended to come from a $7 million cut at district level administrator salaries alongside reductions in administrative travel, technology expenses, and vehicle purchases. However, the reality is unfolded differently. The administration has not only expanded, but also seen generous raises, all the while enrollment continues to decline. Our district leadership has often stated these cuts are intended to protect the staff who directly serve the students. As a community, we must emphatically state that we can no longer accept cuts to student-facing jobs and unnecessary expenditures on buildings that fail to benefit our students amid a funding crisis. As both a community member and an educator, we must persist in asking the tough questions. Are all our priorities truly aligned with the needs of our students? Are we investing in the classrooms where actual learning occurs? Are we funding or are we funneling resources into offices where bureaucracy proliferates? The reality is that every dollar spent at the top is a dollar not spent investing in our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, I'll call forward Kimberly Reed-Zauber.
Hi again, or more officially. Good evening, board directors, student advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. My name is Kimberly Reed-Zauber. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a proud union member and a teacher in Salem-Keizer, but I speak to you tonight as an individual member of our community. Last month, I spoke to you about the drop in the bucket because it's tempting to think about money in terms of proportions of the overall budget, but we have to remember that the dollar amounts in the budget equal service to students. So money spent outside of classrooms and student programs has to be weighed against what our children need of us. So I'm going to run through a few other arguments that come up frequently and that can sometimes obscure the real issues. So first up is the easy one. Other districts are more top-heavy than we are. If others are more top-heavy, that implies that we are too, and our faults are no less faults just because someone else's are worse. So another one that comes up, we need to stay competitive. With whom? We have 23 directors, all with a higher salary than Tina Kotek. Are we competing with whole states? A better question for that is, who needs to stay competitive? What about our instructional assistants and classroom teachers, our counselors, our behavioral health coaches? Are our student-facing positions competitive? How many families would choose a particular school or district because it has great directors? Okay, they don't do that. Overspending on management does not make our district competitive. Spending on educators would. Okay, one more. It's because the state doesn't fund us properly. Absolutely yes. And if a household budget won't quite stretch to cover the grocery bill and a second car, well, cars are important. We need to get to work, we need to get to appointments, we need to go on trips that enrich us mentally and enrich our hearts. But if you have to choose, you buy the groceries and you find a workaround for the transportation. If you have to choose between sufficient staffing for our students and an excess of managers, which is more crucial to the proper operation of our schools? So I have a similar challenge for you as last time. If we must have pay cuts or a RIF, advocate for these reductions where there is the most money and the least student contact. And beyond the current crisis, there are long-term structural changes that really need to be made. And the board's fiduciary responsibility requires a close examination of how well our budget and our structure aligns with providing a free and appropriate education. So please, as we move forward through this, make sure that our district makes the desperately needed changes to this current structure that prioritizes disposable income for a few over the needs of our entire student body.
Thank you. All right, our final public comment will be from Shauna Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. I'll start by saying I have twin 10-year-olds that attend the 4th grade at Sumter Elementary School. I'm here out of necessity. There have been several incidents involving safety and security of my children, and they have not been dealt with properly. My kids have been at Sumter all of their education, and I want to point out that I've never received a single communication about an incident that has occurred at their school, despite knowing firsthand that they have happened. I have a lot of details, but I know I have a limited time. There is an incident involving a knife that my son was involved in that he notified staff about that was handled improperly. But most recently, my son was shot while he was on the school grounds at Sumter Elementary School after school with a gel blaster gun. If any of you are parents, I could imagine it would be very disheartening to hear a phone call from your 10-year-old saying, Mom, I've been shot. He was crying. Now, it was a gel blaster gun, not a real gun, but if you know anything about gel blaster guns, they're dangerous and they cause serious injury. My son and another student were shot. My son was shot in the neck and the leg. He had welts on his body for over 24 hours. The other boy as well. A third child was also shot at. No one has ever checked on that child. So I don't know if he was shot or not, but nobody's ever checked. I heard your rules, which weren't written beforehand, about naming people, but what I'm going to say in summary is that I've reached out multiple times to many levels of administration, I'll say. I received a response from the principal that was not obvious. It was apparent that he hadn't investigated the incident, nor had he talked to any person. Not one person has asked me how my son is faring or how he was the next day until I brought it to their attention. I received a response from, I'm gonna say that I've reached out to the superintendent multiple times via email, phone calls, on the contact page at Salem-Keizer. And I've responded twice to Instagram Reels and have not received a response. It's very disheartening to me. The response I did receive from an administrator was lacking. He clearly didn't investigate. He never spoke to anybody present, including the PTA member. And he tried to tell me that it was an after-school event, so there's no responsibility on your part to respond. This was a school-sanctioned event, the 100 Mile Club, by the PTA. There were paid staff on campus. Nobody responded except for me. I had to drive from my home and threatened to call 911 because nobody was willing to respond, and I had to take the gun away from the child myself. I have a lot more to say. I know my time is up. I am very passionate about this, and what I'll say to you is the response that I did receive from an administrator told me he would check in on me to see how I feel about this. This is not about my feeling. We need an action plan at Sumter Elementary to address safety and security before we all sit in this room regretful of an incident that is much more harmful than what we have luckily not experienced yet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming this evening. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions. I have 3 other incidents. If you want any information, my contact information is available.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we will take a 9-minute break. We will come back at 7:50. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are going to continue on with our very packed agenda. I feel like I'm rushing everybody, but I am. I'm rushing everybody. Next on our agenda is our action items. We have a vote to approve revisions to the Executive Limitation 11 academic program. As a reminder, the board heard the first reading for this item at our meeting in January. The proposed revisions reflect the updated language regarding curriculum and instruction, program evaluation and modifications, and alignment with board goals. Do I have a motion to approve the Executive Limitation 11 revisions as presented?
I do.
All right. Director Parker motioned the revision. Do I have a second?
I second. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Hudson. At this time, I will open things up for discussion. Is there any discussion? Director Chanjagiri.
Yeah, I really appreciate Superintendent for you to consider some of the feedback I gave regarding some of the suggestions to include advanced courses like IBE and advanced courses, dual enrollment programs, and gifted and talented program, and to see how we can consider not only access but actual participation, because I believe that is really critical. You can have a program but may not be scaled up enough to allow people to participate. And one of the, I mean, it's not that it's going to happen overnight, but it's always good to have a good vision in this executive limitation, because we don't know, it may be another 10 years before we may be touching this again, like what has happened. I really would have, if I had the wishes, I would have thought of right from pre-K onwards, considering using our equity lens and seeing various historic and other gaps, and how we can start intentionally offering high-dose tutoring or whatever else extra is required right from the get-go. Because what we have done, I got the feedback from students and the faculty, is we have what's called an embedded honors. They don't like it. They don't like it. Teachers don't like it. Students don't like it because it's not challenging enough. So that's probably not a right way to talk of reach equity. That's like cutting the expectation. The best way to reach equity is to kind of lift right from the get-go so that the students are all ready when they reach that advanced classes. Because eventually, if we don't do that, one of the feedback I get is these kids go to college and they are spending all their money on remedial classes. Before the COVID, like 60% of our Oregon students were spending money on remedial classes, which does not add to their college credit, but they are spending top dollars, which they should have got it in school. So my way would have been to ask if we can at least imagine intentionally saying that we'll try to improve the access and participation right from get-go, pre-K onwards, so that they are ready for every grade level, kindergarten readiness, availability of high, dose tutoring in terms of advanced classes, career technical program, etc., so that we can build the whole pipeline and start closing the gap. I don't know how many more missed Einsteins we have in different community when we look at different categories, because we could have made a big difference in the trajectory. That's how I would like to see. Perhaps in the next version, we may be able to start thinking in those lines. But I just wanted to make sure it goes on the public record. That's why I sent it to you in writing, because I don't know when we'll have a next opportunity to revise it, but it's always okay it's free to dream. I keep telling people it's free to dream, but think in terms of that and access, participation, and closing the gap right from the early age. Then we can nothing should stop a Black child from being in IB classes or advanced courses or post-secondary education if we had started intentionally intervening sooner. That's how I would like to see this EL play out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Fuller.
I just, in light of our retreat that we had a while ago, Director Chandragiri, I heard you say some things that I want to make sure that I understand. You talk about closing the gaps. I've been on the board for a handful of months now. It's still been a while, but I've heard of so many interventions and catches and work between, of the employees that sit at the front desk of the school, calling kids who don't come to school and doing a personal home visit for attendance. I'm being really broad here, but I understand that there's gaps, but when I hear you, it's sounding like there's so many gaps that we have to act now. It's like an emergency almost in the urgency of your words that I hear. So I'm just trying to understand.
Chair, you have to.
So I'd like to, this is I think a really good discussion and a philosophical discussion, and I think I'd also like to keep it on to the motion itself.
Okay.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to sit and chat with you afterwards.
Yeah.
We'll have another lunch, don't worry.
All right. Are there any other comments to the executive limitations?
I know we have to be really fast. Is it okay? Okay, I'm sorry. I really want to appreciate the time to focus on this because I do actually believe that it's a big deal. I have seen firsthand kiddos fall off track early on in elementary because they weren't engaged. And so they lost engagement, then they fell, then they got stuck in the same lower math, and then suddenly they weren't showing up to school anymore once they hit high school. So that's why one reason I think it's important. I'd be happy to share stories too. But I hope that we do utilize the tools, and this is kind of like a permission slip in a sense for us to kind of revamp and pick it up because we have a lot more to offer our kiddos. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we have a first and we have a second. And at this point, I would like to call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the motion on the floor, signify by raising your hands and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? right,
Good
motion
job,
carries.
good job.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we'll move forward. Earlier this evening, in executive session, the board held a level 4 complaint hearing. The board received a copy of the appeal as well as the record for the complaint to review prior to the hearing. The action for the board this evening is to uphold or rescind the decision at the superintendent level. Do I have a motion related to the complaint appeal reviewed in executive session?
I'd like to move to uphold the decision at the superintendent's level.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. So we have a first and a second by Director Guzman-Ortiz and Director Fuller. All those in favor of the motion related to the complaint appeal reviewed in executive session signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Nay.
All right, so we have a split vote. So I'm going to call on council to help me think this one through.
Sure, so because it's an appeal, there needs to be an affirmative vote to rescind it. So if the board would like to entertain a motion to rescind and take the vote, that could be the next step.
Okay. Is there a motion to rescind?
Yes. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we send the decision and send it back to level 2. Level 2 or level 2 for a thorough review.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Can I see council clarifying question? If I were to vote for that, I prefer to specify motion.
Level 1 is at the school level. Level 2 is at superintendent. She's like our employee. Yeah, superintendent can check in.
Okay. So we have a motion to rescind.
Send it back to level 2 is what I said, but you want to bring a friendly amendment is what you said.
I wanted to amend to level 1, but it sounds like the issue that I understand occurred at the level 1, it will be handled if we request level 2. So that's enough, no amending needed.
So no amendment is needed. Okay, so we have a motion to rescind back to a level 2.
Level 2.
We still need a second, is that right?
Yep, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thanks. Director Hudson for a second. All right. All those in favor of the rescinding back to level 2, please raise your hand and state aye.
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 And opposed?
Aye.
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 Council.
So because the motion to rescind fails, then that in effect retains the decision at the superintendent's level.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. And I just want to thank everybody for your care and attention and intention behind this. I think we have all have a lot of feelings about this and really is what's best. And I just want to thank you, everybody, for being so caring and compassionate.
So can I
okay.
ask a clarifying question from a procedural point of view? So you said that when the motion to rescind fails, it goes back to the original one, but there is no motion to support that. So how does it work when we have such split thing from the Roberts rule or whatever we are following now?
So typically with a motion, when there is a motion made and it doesn't have a majority vote, it would in effect be a no.
So why didn't you consider that in the first instance when the motion was made to uphold, when it didn't make, so why didn't it go to by default rescind?
Because this is just to have a clear record, because in the case of an appeal, there has to be an affirmative act to grant the appeal. That's the case so that was the effect of the rescission. There had to be that affirmative act to rescind it. Otherwise, it would stay status quo. We didn't have that clarity with the motion to support it.
Okay. I thought Karina's motion was to support it. It failed. So why, as a default, it didn't go back to, anyway, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I am not entirely clear. The first one was very affirmative to support it, but that failed. So that means doesn't it go back to square one and that like kind of going back to the motion failed? That was the affirmative one, right? Rescinding is not affirmative. The Karina's was affirmative.
Rebecca, if I can, so what I hear you saying, and this is how I'll try to explain how I understand it, is that I made a motion to uphold, and that didn't fail, but that does not mean that by default we are rescinding, because that's why we then need to take a vote to rescind to make it clear where the line is drawn. So we've done both now, and it is clear that it is a split vote. And so what I hear Rebecca saying is by default, then it remains at the superintendent's level.
Whatever.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to move us forward onto our the readings and discussion point, which is next on the agenda is the readings and discussion items related to 3 properties. Chief Odenthal, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Harnish, directors, student advisors, Superintendent Castaneda. Thanks for the time tonight. We have 3 properties with declarations to declare them surplus. This is the first reading, so tonight we're looking basically for your acceptance that they are properties we declare not of use to the school district. We'll be back in March, if that passes, we'll be back in March asking you to allow us to put them on the market for sale and to sell the properties. The first property we have is Fruitland, if we go to the picture there. Fruitland Elementary School, originally built in 1889. Been through many renovations over time, so historically significance has gone to the building. It was last operated as an elementary school in 2011. After that time, it was worked sometime as a pre-K center. Most recently was part of our behavioral intervention center, which in the last months we've moved to Straub now as the behavioral health center. And so at this point, the property, it's an old property. It's not acceptable for, I would say, the modern pedagogy of school, and we'd like to declare it excess and move it there forward to sell this property. And I'll go through all 3, and then any questions at that point. The second property, going to the next slide, is Lake Labish School. Very similarly, it was operated as K-5 through 2011. Appears to be built in the 1950s era. And again, was also part of the Behavioral Intervention Center, which is now moved to Straub. The building is excess at this point. There's about 5 acres at the site. And again, we'd like to sell it. It doesn't match our modern school environment that we would like. The third property a little different. The Paulus Administration Center or complex, which is downtown, is actually 3 buildings built in 1930 and then 2 in the 1950s. It, over the years, has housed staff, technology, reprographics, and other units there. We have recently, in the last year, at the beginning of this school year, we've moved all of those to other locations, more modern buildings across the district. Our district data center is still in this building, but it's part of our plans to move that in the upcoming months to the Wells Fargo data center that we purchased. Much better place. This building is below the floodplain. Not a great place to have a data center. It's quite old and one that really is not of use to us as a district, and we'd like to put it on the market as well. And I will stop there and happy to take any questions that you have. Back to you.
Thank you very much for the information. And Director Hudson.
Thank you very much. I will try my best to be brief, but apologies, I learned the hard way not to bring things up as they start coming along. So I just want to bring this out for open invite discussion with our board members about, I know we're going to get a lot of questions about where we have control to move this money, what pockets. But my question for the district is, and you don't have to answer this now, so moving the data center, as near as the research that I found, it can cost from $5,000 or $10,000 to $25,000 to move each tower. And so I was curious how far we are into that specific financial data research. I understand the need, but then I wonder why we're not considering cloud-based systems where more districts are kind of moving towards, and definitely private sector, because that could actually sustain our system since we're not going to be getting rid of Chromebooks. We recently learned still, right, reiterated anytime soon, and everything else for capacity. Thank you.
I'll say to the first part, as we move this data center, there is some fiber runs that have to happen. There's upgrades of the equipment as well, because a lot of that is older equipment, so it's moving but some replacement of equipment. So all in all, it's about $2 million to make that move of the equipment. As far as moving to a database, I'm a civil engineer, and that's beyond me on that piece. I know we've discussed that, but I can't give you a full answer on that. We're happy to come back with that after talking with our Director of Technology.
May I ask one then clarifying question to end? Thank you. Would that be a board movement? Do any of us know right now to try to influence, to give permission or request that the district actually look at cloud-based systems, like prefer it, or is that district level decision as well?
Well, I think what probably makes sense is that I know our team has assessed all of the variations of backup servers, cloud-based servers, and then system redundancy, which is really what we're dealing with our 2 server centers. So I think what probably makes sense is to just make sure we bring back clarity to you guys about why we believe that this on-site backup server or second server is the clear and right choice.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have the most bang for our buck in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Director Chandagiri.
You know, if we decide to sell these 3 buildings, will that give us enough money to invest on that, other property that we recently bought? What is that, Wells Fargo property, and make the necessary upgrade without, will that be kind of, or we'll have some extra money left or some other kind of capital related investment?
We'll have, so the Paulus complex is assessed value in the $7 million range. We haven't completely come up with a list price, as we'll talk with our broker over time. So $7 million, as far as when we talk about the renovation, the bond work that would happen in the Wells Fargo building, that would be beyond that money by quite a bit. But that money will go into our 418 account, which is about investment in those properties, and go to other needs across the district for renovations, maintenance work.
So the reason I'm saying it can, because we have invested on the Wells Fargo property.
Yeah.
We are waiting for a potential bond in future to get it up where all the kids can move in. But in the interim, the property is ours, there's an investment into it. Can some of it be invested so that we can move some office spaces, or which is not children-facing kind of tasks? The reason is we don't want to invest on a property and let it lie empty. We can probably use it for something else. It's a beautiful building. Get me there.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. I mean, there's potential for other uses, and we can evaluate that over time.
Correct.
Right now, we are in the rezoning process. We need to change the zoning to an educational use, so at this time, there's not much we can do, and that process, we're working that process with the city now.
But the adult staff can move into that building without calling it an educational thing. Am I right or no?
Not today.
Okay.
Not today. It's zoned very much for the data center use, and so in order to office space and other pieces,
It's a different zoning.
we have to go through the zoning process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But then we'll have much wider use at that time.
Are there other questions? Okay. All right. Oh,
I was just gonna say, thanks for bringing this in front of us. It's kind of sad to see. I mean, I remember when Fruitland was running, and so I think there's an emotional piece to some of us of just knowing that these schools were bustling with educators and kids, and of course, coming back to the early conversation around having to balance a portfolio of properties and places to manage. So, thanks to the team for taking a look at what we have and how can we adjust for the future.
thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much for the first reading and the report. We really appreciate it. And next, I'll move us forward to our consent calendar. Superintendent Castaneda, do you wish to provide further review of any of the items on the consent calendar?
I do not wish to provide deeper review, just to remind you that the executive limitation reports are coming in. They are coming in at the same time that we're also bringing revisions to the policies themselves, which can easily become a point of confusion. But it is important that we maintain our process of reporting even as we consider and eventually implement policy changes overall.
All right, well, thank you. So at this point, I would love to entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented. Thank you, Director Chandragiri. Do I have a second? All right, Director Parker, thank you very much. Is there, and we don't need a discussion? No need for discussion. I do know that. Thank you. I always forget, though. So we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, and the motion carries. All right, well, thank you, everybody. So next is our information and standard reports. As a reminder, everything in the information and standard report section is provided for the board's review ahead of the meeting. Superintendent, is there anything you wish to add?
I said my piece on the wrong agenda item, but you just fast forward.
Perfect. All right, and with that, I would love to get us started on our board reports. And I'm going to start down here with Jackson and then Jolie.
Thanks. I have two things I wanted to bring up. One was the budget meetings that we had Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, listening to what's happening, and just like what we have to do because of this is it was just heartbreaking. And I know that was probably true for the other community members that were there. But at the same time, knowing that those community members were dedicated enough to go out relatively late in the evening for an hour and a half to talk about jobs and money, that in itself is heartwarming. So I just wanted to highlight how productive and amazing in some ways, as well as heartbreaking, those meetings were. On lighter news, Sprague's theater department is starting on our production of She Kills Monsters, yes. And you can see we have, if you turn left right after entering the main entrance of the school, you can see a hallway filled with decorations. There's like a stone wall pattern rising from the ground, and recently, I think today or maybe yesterday, there's a beholder on the wall right now, and it's really cool to see that underway.
Awesome, thank you. Jolie.
Okay, I'm gonna, I'll try to make this quick. I have a lot I want to say. Okay, so things at school related. At South today, we had our school unified assembly that started with our choir's beautiful rendition of the national anthem. But, and then the assembly consisted of a short unified basketball game, a phenomenal cheerleading performance, and teachers getting ice water dumped on them. And these teachers were Senora Linares, head security guard Bree, and Mr. Frost. And all of this was to get students hyped for our biggest unified fundraiser of the school year, the Polar Plunge, which is taking place this Saturday, February 14th, in which students can either plunge into a cooled pool or run a 5K race at Illahee. Okay, and South boys basketball has won all their last few games, and girls basketball won their game against Lake Ridge on January 27th. Cheer won first place in the Gladiator Challenge in Gladstone, where they were the 6A small game day division. In our theater department, we had a 24-hour theater on January 24th, where students wrote, directed, performed, and did tech aspects of theater, all condensed within 24 hours. It was a great show and opportunity for new students to try theater out as well. Many theater students also just went to the regional theater competition last Saturday, and several of our students got various awarded performances in acting and dance. Our theater department also has Just Desserts performing at the end of the month, and it is an interactive dining and theater experience in South's Black Box Theater. Please come watch if you can. On January 15th at South Salem, I invited Director Parker, Director Guzman Ortiz, and Director Chandragiri to our school student advisory cabinet meeting. It was, we discussed various student questions, and it was a great opportunity for students to hear various things the district is doing, and for the directors who attended to hear some things students are concerned about. Okay, now I would like to switch gears to a more serious topic. Last Thursday, I saw an article in the Oregonian about House Bill 4079, which is pending in the Oregon legislature. If passed, this bill would provide much needed support to school communities because it would require notification to families and school employees if there were confirmed incidents of ICE incoming onto school properties or campuses. I believe implementing procedures like this is vital to keep families safer and informed, as if these very traumatic experiences were to happen in our school district, everyone should be informed. Not knowing could be detrimental and not allow families to take care of each other and their children, and also hinder school staff from supporting and caring for students potentially impacted. Several students have shared with me how ICE is impacting the whole community and their individual lives. There has been an emotional outcry. The census is, many students feel a range of emotions, including very somber, frustrated, fearful, and a sense of hopelessness. Many agree that a lot of change needs to happen. Students need to know that teachers, staff, and district leaders understand what they are feeling and experiencing, and that they are willing to provide students and their families with visible support. Restless fear and frustration is boiling under many students' skin and has already begun to boil over. A few weeks ago at South Salem High School, several dozen students walked out of classes to protest ICE in front of our school. For a growing number of students, the ability to be fully present in the classroom is being hindered by preoccupation and worry they feel related to ICE. And some students are beginning to go to school less because of their fear of what could happen to their family when they are at school. Some are scared of being separated from loved ones and not having the ability for a direct form of communication with their families during the school day. I think it would mean a lot to students across the district and their families if the Salem-Keizer School Board would support House Bill 4078 because it would show that the school board understands some of the fear and trauma our community is facing and that they are taking action to support and be responsive to what the community is telling them, and especially what students are telling them. For these reasons, I am respectfully requesting you as the school board directors, let the Oregon legislature know you as a body support House Bill 4079. In the event that House Bill 4079 does not pass in the Oregon legislature this session, I would ask you to take action to implement the required notification to families and school employees if there are confirmed incidents of ICE coming onto school properties or campuses throughout the Salem-Keizer district, as I believe you have the authority to do that. Thank you for listening and for your consideration of this request.
Hello. Over the last few weeks, I had the opportunity to go to I went to the Shrek musical at North Salem High School. That was great. It was very, very funny. I liked that a lot. And then I got to also go to the Chicago play over at McNary, and that was really good. They did an excellent job. And as Jolie said, I went to Dr. Sandra Garian and Karina and I were able to go to her school and talk to the student advisory group, and it was very, very, it was nice to hear from your students and to hear their thoughts and their concerns. That was a great opportunity to hear that. And then also, about a week ago or so, I got to see the middle school kids in the band and the orchestra play. And they did a great job. It was really, really good. They did an excellent, it was an excellent performance. Thank you.
Well, kind of stole my thunder on a few of these already. I'm just gonna keep busting everyone else's down the line. But it was great to be a part of the Wednesday budget committee conversation and get to hear some of the questions that were coming from community. I know that this is a really difficult conversation to continue to have when we're thinking about how are we tackling budget reductions, how are we adjusting to our declining enrollment, and I really always just appreciate folks reaching out to us via email, coming to share public comment with us. It all matters, right? Because this is going to be an imperfect process, and I think that as a board, and I'll speak for myself, I want to hear from folks so that I can bring those questions up, and that we can be proactive in addressing, any gaps, kind of any foreseeable issues as we move forward. Again, it's going to be imperfect, but it's really helpful to hear from folks what is coming up and what questions and concerns they might have. I didn't make it to Shrek, but I did make it to, my daughter did, and she said it was hilarious. I did make it to Mean Girls High School Edition over at McKay, and that was funny. We have some very talented performers, and I'm just always blown away, and that was good. I think I saw Superintendent Castañeda was there because I saw your pictures. I was like, yep. So that was great. I met with Jonathan and Ashley from Data Team, last week to preview our upcoming school, this is how I'm going to describe it, school level data dashboard, MTSS aligned. I know Superintendent Castañeda mentioned this briefly during the community conversations. Board members, we got it in our board newsletter, so I'm just gonna, make a pitch and invite you all to check it out because it's really exciting. And to see, kind of get a sense of how schools are gonna be able to see more student level data, and just, when we have access to data, it just makes our processes much better. And I think, we heard that a little bit today from our presentation on 9th grade on track and graduation. And lastly, I'll be brief on this one so others can share, but I don't think we've met here since we met for the Oregon School Boards Association Board of Directors meeting and the Legislative Policy Committee. Is that right? That's correct. Okay, great. So we haven't met since, right? I don't think so. I don't think we reported on it. So it was great. I was there with some fellow board members as well. Got to hear a little bit of, the preview for the short legislative session. Thanks, Jolie, for bringing that to our attention. And I'd love for us to, maybe come together and type something up together and send it in as a board and with our student advisors as well. On to you, the next person.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go to Director Chandragiri, and then we're going to come back this way.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, it has been a nice and interesting time. I don't want to repeat all that they shared about the common activities we participated. Of course, the budget discussion was very helpful. It also gave me an opportunity to thank you, Director Hudson, for joining me when we went and spoke in front of the Keizer City Council's Diversity and Community Engagement Committee. They had questions about bullying and what are some of the options that families can do, and about the budget changes, because not everybody could attend. Very thoughtful. Can you believe it? They invited us again. So that's a good sign. So that was interesting. North Salem High School, the teacher invited me to kind of share with her students on 2 different occasions about my career journey, and it was interesting because I'm just reading through all the feedback that she sent from the students. I did not realize that little time we spend can stir the imagination of so many kids and so many students that they can think of various other possibilities. So I urge my fellow board directors to go and openly share your story and what you're doing and how you're doing, and that's really a good experience. I wanted to thank Chair, she's not here today, for finally, after 4 years of letting me into one of the committees. I waited 4 years and finally into Mid-Valley Council on Government. That was a nice thing. They're quiet, they're on top of a restaurant, but they do amazing job with several of these counties, the local tribal government, and it is a good opportunity, and we have to participate. Community and school and community are one and the same. If community is doing well, then we are doing well. And if we are doing well, then the community does well. So we really all have to work together, and that's the spirit with which the state has several such things, just like the metro in Portland and Multnomah County, the same thing. We have this Mid-Valley. There goes Mid-Valley, Willamette Valley COG, Council of Government. So I got to work with various county commissioners and others. So I look forward to working there and with that committee and coming and reporting. So I didn't realize that we are also one vote. Now we are sitting in their board, so we do have some say when we do. And we pay our dues, so you better make sure our money is worth. We get it from them. And they do have amazing expertise, and we need to fully capitalize on the dues we pay. So thank you very much for the board leadership for letting me into one of the committees finally. Thanks.
Thank you. And Director Hudson.
Thank you. Because of the time, I was trying to be quick, but it's hard, right? So I like that you brought up the North Salem High School opportunity for we board members to go share our story and career path and all of that. It was kind of trickled from an event that we were there that we got to sit in with once, as far as they committing to a trial to see how much they could offer their students and how much that could help them. So not just we here at the board, but anyone in our community that wants to share. I encourage you to reach out to North Salem High, and hopefully it'll be catchy since you had such a good good, inspiring turnout for the rest of our kiddos. Just free little ways as we continue to find things in our community to help our youth have the best future that they can. So I got to sit in a few days of reading instruction at Clear Lake. That was pretty neat. It was a lot. I also got to go to a lot of specifically South Salem High basketball games. I missed Chicago over at my little home stomping ground, whatever, but my daughter got to go see it and she liked it, and I heard lots of good feedback. So it's neat to hear that you're undefeated for basketball, and it's nice to get out there and support our both girls and boys basketball. So, but just anything, I wish I had time to multiply and get to all of the events. So, but it does my heart so good to be able to see our kids enjoying that and growing from it. And on the bowling thing, hoping that we can all continue to teach as a collective our youth how to show respect and how to live through life, and start to consider what it might be like if the situation were reversed. So anyway, thank you.
And Director Fuller.
Thanks. Well, as we were all sharing, I was crossing things off, so I didn't duplicate, but there's still a lot. I'm sorry. I'm a wrestling mom now. It's really exciting. My sixth grader came home and said, "Mom, I signed up for wrestling." I was like, "Great, let's do it." So one of the things that I really appreciate about the wrestling program at Parrish is they have a rule that we stay till the match is over. So with the visiting school or the home school, if we're visitors, as each kid wrestles, sometimes the parents hightail it out of there. Match is over. But at Parrish, you stay till the end. And so what happens is that at the end of the match, when a lot of people have gone home, there's still our full school and our full bleachers. And I just think it's such good sportsmanship and it's such a good model for kids to see. So I've really been enjoying that. Dr. Chandragiri, you talked about the COG board. I get to serve on the sister part of that, SCATS, it's Salem-Keizer Area Transit Study. So I've been attending those meetings. I'll be attending bargaining tomorrow night. That starts tomorrow with our classified staff. I went once during the campaign last year, but I want to go again and see more of the process and see how that works. I attended the town hall at the Elsinore where our district's reading scores were discussed. Jolie, based on your email that you sent a few months ago, tomorrow morning I go to my second meeting with North and their student cabinet. It's been really fun to go in there and see the students and what it's like in school. It's much different from when I was in high school. There's no pagers, but there are still donuts and chocolate milk for breakfast. I expect this still happening in high school. I toured Hayesville. I've got Hallman, Grant, and Hammond next on deck to go see. And we talked a little bit, I think, about Pioneer Pathways at Parrish. I'm really proud of that. It's a weekend time for kids to come in and not just catch up on their work, but reinforce and strengthen the skills that they have. And I will leave my comment with Saturday is Valentine's Day, but it's also Oregon's birthday. And at the Capitol, they're having a big celebration, and I'll be on stage at 10 and noon with the Oregon Old Time Fiddlers Association doing some fiddling. So please come by and see us if you're able.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will round us out, and I have a couple repeats in here too. But we have been meeting as a long-range facility planning task force. So we're moving into our final meeting next week, right? I'm looking at Paul for validation. So we have had 8 meetings together with this very dedicated task force that is weighing all of the huge amounts of needs that we have to make sure that our educational settings are what they need to be for students. We're beginning the so difficult process of putting them into sort of high, medium, and low categories that will ultimately come to us as a board for as part of their recommendation in their package. So I can tell you too that the conversations weighing not only the educational needs and the wide variety, but also the budgetary and just sort of the state that we are in right now is weighing very heavily on this group. And so there's been a lot of conversations about how do we weigh these things. So I'll be excited to have that wrap up. On theme, I was able to attend the Bonds and Ballots Conference with the OSBA, was joined by Director Guzman-Ortiz and then many members of the district staff. It was a really, really good conference with a lot of good information. And I think also having been through the facilities task force and the bond process previously, I'm very proud of our district. We know what we're doing in that regard, and so I feel really good about where we stand. And I think as a team, we all learned a lot of things that we can do more of. Also attended the town hall hosted by the Salem Reporter. I just want to commend you as superintendent for, and I'm blanking on the teacher's name. Jessica Francisco. Outstanding information was shared with the community. Also Dana from Stand, and I'm blanking on her name too because I didn't write these down, but it was I thought a very insightful town hall, and I had the opportunity to talk with many who were in attendance and not only appreciated that information, but I think gives people at least a little bit of a sense of what the community can do to help to step up to, because it's really all of our issue around literacy. So that was really good. Also had the opportunity to attend an AVID class at North Salem as a way to kind of talk about my role in the community and on the board. And so that was really super fun. And I only called a teacher a student once. So I thought that was pretty good. It is legislative season, 35 jam-packed days at the Capitol. A lot happening, not a lot of money, and a lot of really tough and challenging conversations are being had throughout the building. But it is, I've listened in on a couple of hearings, and I know there was an important bill that was up today around the school funding. So I know it's definitely a topic of conversation in the buildings. Don't know if we'll get anything done in that regard by March the 3rd, which I think is 5th, is when they have to end. So it's a busy few weeks. And with that, I think that concludes my remarks for the evening. All right, so it is 8:42, and I'm going to call our meeting adjourned. Good job.